Shwmai, croeso. Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the Bluebirds Nest. After making waves at Ipswich Town back in 2010, this week's guest returned to Wales and has been pulling the strings in the midfields across the Cymru leagues for over a decade now. However, perhaps we've not seen him on the pitch for some time now. So to tell us all about it, it's our number 4, Mr. Elliot Scotcher. Scotch, welcome to the Nest.
Thank you for having me. It's been a while. I've been sort of waiting to come on it for a while. I spoke to you after or just before Christmas about making an appearance. So yeah, it's nice to be on.
Yeah, here you are. We've obviously got a lot to get through, and we will get to the present day and what the situation is at the moment soon enough. But as we always do, let's take a walk down memory lane. Take us through your footballing journey. Junior football to begin with. Then where did it all start for you?
It all started for me at Tenby Football Club. So I was lucky enough to have my dad as a coach for a few years. Played football for as long as I can remember. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, started off at Tenby. Didn't really play any rugby, just football through and through. And played there till I was about under 10s. And at that stage then, been involved with sort of the Cardiff City development squads at a young age, and then I signed for the academy then at under 10s.
Wow, it's remarkable how many of the current and former players of the club have had those experiences, and it's a big commitment, obviously, from Tenby. How many times a week were you up in Cardiff then?
It varied a little bit, but it would usually be twice a week for training, then game on a weekend, which would be a Sunday. But obviously the game could be anywhere from Cardiff up to the Midlands. So it was a massive sort of commitment for my parents. Yeah. I think it was a lot easier for myself. I just jumped in the car after school and food made for me, 2-hour journey. But for them, I sort of realised now, years later, just how hard it must have been.
Your dad was a bit of a player as well back in the day. Was he? He played football.
Yeah, he likes to say so. He was on the books with Watford at a young age. So family originates from North London. So he used to go back and forth up there whilst he was living down here. He'd go up in the summers, and yeah, he was on the books at a young age, but ended up playing his whole career in rugby.
Did he? Oh, okay. Your time at Cardiff then, you must have been there for 6 years, I think I'm right in saying?
Yeah. I was there for 6 years. It got to around the age of sort of the scholars, and I didn't get a scholarship at the time. Lucky enough to be involved in the Wales setup. I'd actually captained Wales under 16s level against many different countries. I had quite a few caps, and obviously through that, then I was released from Cardiff, and it sort of gave me lots of other opportunities to try and sort of look into, which obviously led on to my next chapter then, which
did manage to earn yourself a scholarship then at Ipswich under the reign of Roy Keane at the time, was it?
Yeah, under Roy Keane. So yeah, it was just obviously through the Wales setup then. I was played in the Victory Shield at under 16s, which back then was live on Sky Sports. It's still running now, but obviously not to the same publicity level. And I was the only player to turn up for that without a club. So you had all these sort of massive clubs on the roster of all the Welsh and English teams, and there was me without a club. So lucky enough, then I went off trialing with loads of different clubs, and the first firm offer I had was Ipswich Town. Just happened to be under Roy Keane, so it was a great experience going in there, meeting him. Such a nice guy when you see him off the pitch. He's got a sort of different touch to him when you see him away from the actual pitch around the training ground every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great experience.
That's literally west coast of Wales, the east coast of England. That's a huge move. At 16 as well. How did you find that?
It was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was quite tough. I had to grow up quite quickly. Football's changed a lot in the last sort of 10, 15 years. Even since I did my scholar, I think when I did it, it was quite tough for scholars, apprentices. You hear of these stories of people going through tough times when they are scholars. But yeah, I had a tough time. I found it quite difficult, but I think it really helped me, and sort of, yeah, you just got to grow up really quickly, haven't you? Moving away from home. But I took it in my stride, but I'm not going to say it was easy.
Yeah. Were you in digs then, or where did you sort of accommodation? Where was that?
Yeah, I was in digs, so 2 different digs. I had 1 digs in my first year, same in my second year. I met a lot of people that I keep in touch with now. So I lived with different people from all over Britain. So it was nice in that sense. Well, all over Europe really. But yeah, it was an experience where you've got to grow up quickly. You've got to learn to do things for yourself, I suppose, where not many 15, 16-year-olds would.
No, I can imagine. You say you met a lot of people. A little birdie told me that you were boot boy for a certain Jimmy Bullard.
Yeah.
That must have been interesting and a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, I was actually quite lucky with the players I cleaned boots for. It was I had Connor Wickham, who was actually in my youth team but never played with him because he was always in the first team. Massive prospect. I think he signed for Sunderland for 9 mil.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
I had Michael Chopra. He was one of my players, and obviously Jimmy Bullard as well. I got quite a few stories on him that I don't think I could tell on here. But he was a hell of a guy.
I can imagine. It's phenomenal. Yeah, we'd save that one for the clubhouse perhaps.
Yeah.
after a fixture soon. But a great experience for you. Obviously, the full-time opportunity, I suppose, didn't come at Ipswich then, but you came back to Wales. You're an intelligent guy, so it didn't surprise me. Obviously, university. You started a degree at Cardiff Met, where I suppose that's where I sort of first came across you. One of your specialities, I think it was the opening goal. It was a free kick, and you've put many in the top corner over the years that I've seen. But my first memory was watching you at the Oggy Bridge Meadow. It was the Conagher Bridge Meadow back then. Haverfordwest and Cardiff Met going toe to toe for the league. Well, it wasn't the league title, was it? Kyra Ely was. They did the league at a canter, but didn't have the ground.
Yeah.
Met and Haverfordwest had the license given, and you scored that opening goal. I always remember though there was a cheeky striker in your squad, John Littlemore, I think his name was.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he scored the second later on and clinched your 3 points. And I never forget, he ran in front of the home dugout, goaled in us, I must admit, and he got so close to Sully, and he's lucky he didn't get close enough. It could have ended in tears, that one.
That was a great season. That was. Although it didn't end well for us, it was. I still remember most of the games of that season, so I remember that. I also remember that we beat Haverfordwest 2-0 at our place at King Coyd, and I scored both. So that was a good day for me as well. But yeah, it was. That was a sort of really enjoyable season. I started when I went to Cardiff Met. I started really enjoying my football again. One of the things leaving Ipswich was it was such a tough time towards the end of being up there. I felt out of favour a little bit, and I wasn't really enjoying my football. And I went to Cardiff Met and sort of really started enjoying it again, and I felt like I started playing my best football there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great year. It just didn't end fantastically well for us.
Well, let's talk about that. We got to bring it up. I know I've brought it up with you many times. It's bad memories, I suppose, for you. But like I said, it was neck and neck all season for anyone who isn't aware. And for some reason, and I've never seen this happen since, we went to Aberdeen in like November time. As we arrived, minibus back in the day, the ref called the game off, frozen pitch. And it was like, rearranged later on in the season. And it just never reappeared until it was a Tuesday night, and all the league fixtures had finished on the previous Saturday, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
that was it.
It was just Aberdeen and Haverfordwest, one more remaining fixture. You were in second place, 3 points ahead with a 4-goal swing.
Yeah.
And nobody expected it. On the bus, we hope for that miracle. But it was just an incredible night of football, obviously, for Haverfordwest. But I remember you guys were sat in the stand just in disbelief.
Yeah, it was. I remember it to this day. It was. It actually made a massive difference on what I was going to be doing in my future. So I'd won an award that year in university, and I was offered basically a free masters. Now my plan wasn't to do a free masters. However, I knew that if we got promoted to the Welsh Prem, I was going to stay and do a masters, so I could play 1 year with Cardiff Met. And obviously, being that 4-goal difference, I remember we drove down. There's about 4 of us in the car, and we were 10 minutes late. And as we got out of the car, it was 2-0. And I remember watching it thinking every time you attacked, it just looked like you were going to score. Whereas like we'd beaten you twice that season, and we played Aberdeen the week before, which was our last game, and we scraped through a 1-0 win. No, it was just such a tough game. And then watching it against you, I was thinking, what is going on here? It was mad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was absolutely gutted after that, because it obviously had a massive impact on what I was doing then the following season. But everything happened for a reason, and I ended up down with you boys a few seasons after that.
Yeah, it's funny how things work out like that. But
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying Met strolled the league the following year, and to be fair, they've been up in the Cymru Premier for many years now, and I suppose haven't looked back. So unfortunate, I suppose, for you that season. Where did you go next then? Was it Merthyr after that?
Yeah, I went to Merthyr Town. Great club to play for. Really, really enjoyed my time there. Really, really good fans. They get behind you. It's a great atmosphere to play in. So enjoyed my football there. But I was studying for a PhD in teaching then, which I was living up towards that way, so it was a lot easier. When I finished that and moved back down to Tenby, with the amount of midweek games that Merthyr have, it's just really, really difficult to do. It's pretty much impossible. So
of course, that
helped me.
A few other clubs then. You did experience a couple of other clubs across the Cymru leagues, but obviously we'll focus on Haverfordwest now. And so you first joined, Wolvesy brought you in. I remember you came in, ball playing midfielder, pulling the strings there, like I said. But then with Nicky Hyen's time, when he operated you sort of a ball playing centre half as well, where was your head at with that? Adjusting to that new opportunity, I guess.
So I was a little bit sort of taken aback by it myself. However, I was sort of accustomed to playing there. I think Wolsey had played me there quite a few times. He used to like play me in the sweeper role and say to me just to sort of drop off. I think my aerial ability isn't one of my best traits, so I always like sort of dropping off, becoming the sweeper. So I was used to playing that under Wolsey, and I really enjoyed it, in all fairness, because I get a lot of the ball there. It was a little bit of a different role under Nicky. He was playing me sort of right side centre half. Everything, as you know, with Nicky was so sort of channeled. That sort of he just had such a specific way of playing that you learn a lot from. But it was staying in my channel and sort of working the ball forward in that sense. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. If I'm being honest, you could see the game from a different perspective. Although I still feel like I've got a lot to offer from central midfield, and I feel like that's always been my best position. I do feel like I can really affect the game at centre half as well now. But yeah, I sort of gained a lot of a different experience playing under Nicky there, which I enjoyed. Yeah,
it's I suppose up to the more recent times. Then obviously, Pens' arrival has seen you feature in both those positions, and that I suppose is an extra string to your bow now, being able to play both those positions. Well, perhaps not as much as you would have hoped for over the last 2 years, but you've been incredibly unlucky with these injuries. Let's go through a bit of a timeline of it then. So I don't want to get any of it wrong. So when did it all start, sort of the issues come up then?
So I've suffered a little bit with sort of patellar tendonitis for, I would say, ever since I've been playing for Haverfordwest. Just little niggles with my knee that I'd be carrying for a few games and then it would be okay. I think during COVID it was really good. A lot of time to sort of prehab that when I was off, and it was really good. And then pretty much towards the end of the season when Nicky Hyen, it sort of started coming back. So ever since Pens has taken over, I've really struggled with that patellar tendonitis. And then it was start of last season, it was really niggling away, and I'd have sort of a time where I was playing a few games in pain, and then I'd have a game off, and it was like that until last Christmas. And I turned around and said to Tristan, I can't keep doing this. I think we've got to have an extended period where I'm trying to rehab that. So we spent 4 months solid just rehabbing it, trying to get it back right. And it just wasn't getting any better, really, to my frustrations. So we sort of came to the conclusion that I need to try and get back into training and almost just push through. And it was literally the first training session. We were doing extensive rehab on the side. Tris sort of said, "Are you ready?" I ran into a possession drill, and I think it was about 2 minutes in, I just felt a complete pop. It was almost like laughable. I looked at Tris, I was like, "Is this serious?" Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But looked down, basically a hole in my knee, and yeah, my patella tendon had completely ruptured. So
Eesh.
yeah,
Oh,
it wasn't a nice one.
I remember that training session that you'd returned. I was told in the day that you were sort of, right, you're going for it now. You're back in contention almost. And
Yeah,
getting a message that I had it the next day to say the knee had blown. It's interesting. I spoke to the club doctor, Richard Thompson, last week and mentioned I was having a catch up with you and what his perspective of the whole sort of scenario was. And he, with that initial weakness there, as much in hindsight now, it's easy to say, it was almost a good thing that it fully went.
yeah,
I'm now in for that proper rebuild to back stronger, that's a sort of opportunity.
yeah. I think that was when it happened. I turned around to Tristan and I said, "Well, I'm almost happy."
Yeah.
Silly thing to say, but I was almost happy that I was doing all this rehab, and people were asking me, and Pens was asking me week in, week out, or asking Tristan, "When's he going to be back?" And I was like, "Well, hopefully next week."
Yeah.
And that went on for about 4 months, and it's also gone on for a couple of years. I haven't felt like it's really stopped me, but over time it's changed the way I play. I've become a little bit less confident. I've been able to do things after training, which I always used to do. So it's been almost like a fresh start, if you like. But having said that, I didn't quite realise just the severity of it until it actually happened. I think I was saying to Tris at the start, hopefully I'll be back by Christmas, and Tris was sort of trying to pull me back a bit. And it's only now that we're in March and I'm really realising that just how serious it was when it comes up to sort of 12 months, and I'm still not back on the pitch yet.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned a couple of times where you came back and tried. I think your first appearance in a few weeks was against Bala on that day that Willie got sent off for the pass. 8 minutes into the game and you're on a set piece, you put in the top corner, it's like, oh my God, it's like a new signing again. And I think then you're looking for your name on the team sheet the following week or the week after, I think it was. No, he's not. So in and out. And again, you've been through a torrid time with it, but on reflection, I think it might have been a blessing because now it's had proper full rehab, I suppose. But you mentioned Tristan there, and you alongside a couple of others with long-term injuries have worked really closely with him. He's obviously set up camp at West Health up at S7 Fitness there in Haverfordwest. How have you found working, with Tristan on a really close basis then?
To be honest, I don't think I'd be where I am now without him. I think I've got fairly decent knowledge of injuries. I'm quite funny with that. Outside of sport, I'll watch so many videos on it, and I have done over the years with my knee. But having someone there that not only gives you that accountability, but he loves it. He knows his stuff so much, and he actually loves what he does. I think you meet so many people that they're doing it for a job, whereas he's completely different. He absolutely loves what he does, and I think that really does sort of radiate into what he does. He cares, and I think he just really enjoys it. So he's been brilliant for me. I think if I didn't have him around, perhaps I'd be, but I wouldn't be in the same place as I am now, and I wouldn't be as close. But I think I owe him a pint if I when I get back on the pitch, hopefully.
Oh, amazing. To be fair, you'd probably have a bit of discount after that testimonial as well. I must admit, the club have come a long way since I was in charge of the bandages once upon a time. To be fair, like I said, there's been a number of you with that long-term injury and the recovery plans put in place by Tristan and the doctor as well, Mr. Thompson. But you've still been there on Saturday afternoons. You've come down. You yourself, Dylan, Kyle Patton. There's several of you who've been on the sort of treatment table, and I've seen you're offering advice and guidance, particularly to some of the youngsters. The ones who've coming through. Perhaps you haven't even played alongside yet, but there's still that togetherness from the wider squad as well, which has been great to see. I can imagine you don't enjoy it, though, as much from the sidelines, and you want to be out there. But you can see, particularly yourself with an education career as well. It's been something you've grasped with, and you've had success, I believe, with a day job too. Obviously, a teacher at Greenhill School, head of football, or director of football, I think I read your title.
I might get labelled that. I think when I first started in Greenhill, our head of PE his main sport is rugby.
Okay.
It used to be sort of when I was growing up, it was all rugby in Greenhill. So I've enjoyed sort of taking the mantle of a lot of the football. And yeah, I really enjoy it. To be fair, we've got a lot of good youngsters that really enjoy the football as well. So pushing on that side for it is sort of, for me, it's the best part of the job,
Nice.
that extracurricular stuff.
National success as well?
Yeah. So a couple of 2 years ago, we actually won the Welsh Cup, which is a massive achievement. It was with our Year 8 team, so the youngsters are under 13s, and they then qualified for the British Cup, which was last year. Unfortunately, I had a daughter. I think it was 2 days before we were due to go, so I didn't end up going to Ireland. So I missed out on a nice trip, but yeah, it was a good reason to miss it.
Amazing. Yeah, you bring that up. You and Mrs. Scotcher, who's also a teacher at Greenhill, I believe. You've welcomed the little one over the last 12 months. Callie, I think it was around the playoff time, wasn't it? Because I remember you couldn't risk going up to Newtown. But how are you finding parenthood then?
Yeah, good, really good. It's different. It's really helped me in the last year because I've had a different focus. Not gonna lie, it's been a really tough year. Obviously, I go back to last year being such a successful time for the club. Being in Europe, winning the playoff finals, and I was sitting at home on my sofa in a full leg cast, just feeling sorry for myself. It was a hard time. I was buzzing for everybody, but obviously just absolutely gutted not to be there. So to have Callie to look forward to, that obviously she was due in a few weeks, was that extra sort of buzz that helped me out a little bit with my rehab. So I had that different perspective. So she's been fantastic for me this year, and she's coming on leaps and bounds. Huh?
Yeah, I remember thinking of you. Your name was brought up. I think it was in the pre-match team talk or something. A couple of your names who couldn't make it on the day for different reasons were brought up, and I remember messaging you from the pitch during the warm-up. I think it was saying you are here in spirit, sort of thing. Keep your chin up, but. It must have been a really tough 12 months. And I know you've had a couple of setbacks and things like that, but we'll talk sort of present day to finish. Your dream Bluebird then, right? Let's go back over your last few years now then to pick out some of the characters and the individuals to make up this. We've done it with I think all the players who've come on now, but of all the ones you've played, 6 characteristics. Who's the best right foot, apart from your own? You can't pick yourself.
Yeah.
Who's the right boot?
Oh, it's a weird one, these questions, because you can look at it from so many different perspectives. I don't want to blow too much because if you talk about present players and get a big head. I would honestly say on his day, in terms of like a dead ball or pinging with his right foot, I would probably say Willie. He's got a hammer of a right foot, as much as I don't like to say it. He doesn't always produce with it, but he's got it there if he needs it at times.
Fantastic.
I would probably say Willie.
Okay. Surprising how many he gets picked for, to be fair to him. Left foot.
Probably have to say Trans, I think.
Oh, it's not a bad left foot.
Great left foot. I think it'd probably pick him for more, but to play with him was a great experience. I thought, although he was past it and he was nowhere near to the level that he would have produced years before, you still saw those sort of moments of brilliance, especially with that left peg.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Technical ability.
Probably again, I could say Trans for his skill level. Again, this is one that you can look at from completely different perspectives. You could look at sort of range of passing, and sort of you look at our team now. You've got Sheps has got some great technical ability. You could look at Declan Carroll, who's signed back now, which I've never seen anybody so good in a 5-a-side. There's loads of different attributes to being technically good. But a combination of quite a few, I think. for that question.
Are you going to nail down one?
I'm going to nail one. I'll have to go trans, and I can't say.
Again. Aerial ability then.
There's no point in answering this question because it's going to be said for every single one.
Yeah.
I think if the game was played in the air, he'd definitely be captain of Wales and playing for Man United. But yeah, Pems, it'd have to be, wouldn't it?
I thought you might pick him. Yeah, you two enjoyed a good bit of fun together playing.
Yeah.
A talker.
This is a tough one. I think going back a few years ago, you got somebody like Timmy Hicks, very experienced in the league, played multiple different positions, so could see the game from lots of different perspectives. I think he was a very good talker, and it wasn't just it wasn't negative, it wasn't screaming for the sake of it. I think he was sort of a calm head, but yeah, he was just very experienced and could see it from every different perspective, and was very good with the youngsters as well.
Yeah, good choice that, Hixie. Finally then, the footballing brain.
Jazz. Yeah, I love playing next to Jazz. I think obviously being moved back to playing right side centre half under Nicky Hatton, I played a lot alongside Jazz. And I love the way he's able to sort of speed up and slow down the game. I think he's got such a great understanding for the game. You play with so many players that they don't know when to speed it up, when to slow it down. They don't know when to make the right decision. So it's not just sort of positionally and the way he defends. It's the way he knows when he needs to speed the game up. He knows when to slow it down. He knows when he needs to pass the ball inside or go on the outside. He just always makes the right decision. I think you can give him the ball and he's going to make the right decision and make the decision that's right for the team, not for himself.
Yeah,
definitely Jazz.
That's another impressive looking dream Bluebird there. I was thinking we'll have to line all these up one day and make a league table of how many times people have been picked, because they're impressive, to be fair. Right, back to reality, I suppose. Then there's 4 games left of phase 2. We are still 1 point ahead of Penabont. We travel to Pontypridd United, USW Park, a lunchtime kickoff on Good Friday this week. Not been a good ground for us in the past, but off the back of a really good win against Aber last week, it's set up to be a good one. The Nest Live will be starting just before kickoff. So if you aren't heading east, please join us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Looking ahead then, Scotch, I was going to ask you earlier, but now it's back in the present day, I suppose. I know, you've had, like I said, a couple of setbacks and it's an injury that can't be rushed. You have been taking your time, but gradually increasing activity. What's the plans for you now then over the sort of short and medium term?
I'd have loved to have said to you that I was going to play this season, but the likelihood is I'm not going to be playing this season. The aim now is to get back fully flying for pre-season. I think one of the things I've realised with this injury, and it's something that Tristan's been sort of really pushing, is it's all about markers. It's all about, right, when I'm able to do this, I can then move on to this, and then when I'm able to do that, I can then step it up. So, there's still quite a few phases to go. I've had a few sort of setbacks where I've got back into doing some stuff, and I've had to rein it back in. But the aim is to be fully sort of flying by pre-season. But obviously, I know that I can't put any time limits on it. It's just whatever I can do. But I'm sort of I'm pushing each day. I've worked really hard at trying to get back, and I won't give up. So fingers crossed, I'll be back flying by pre-season. But if I'm not, I've just got to keep working away and hopefully get back as soon as possible.
Amazing, mate. Well, listen, we are all rooting for you. We're right behind you. Everybody's really looking forward to seeing you return to the meadow in the very near future, hopefully. It's been a long time, but, you'll be like a new signing coming in, and we look forward to seeing, obviously, your ability and your presence around the place in more of a playing capacity. So, yeah, so best of luck with it all. Thank you for the chat, and hopefully probably see you down the meadow next Friday. I think for the Barry Town United is our next fixture at home. So see you at the meadow then.
Yeah, I'll be there. Thank you very much for having me.